Are these the worst rides in Universal Studios Orlando? There was an article written, and we're going to get into it. All right, are these the worst rides? There's a lot of debate on what the worst rides are at Universal, especially if you're a Disney fan. And someone created a list and said, these are the absolute worst rides at Universal. We're going to go through them and ask ourselves if we think they're the worst, or maybe not the worst, and if they are, why.
Yeah, these are if you're a Disney fan or if you're a regular to Universal. If you're a Universal annual pass holder or someone that just happens to visit the park a lot, you might have a list of things that you totally skip when you go.
Yeah, so this list ranks 6 of the worst attractions at Universal Studios, and they have number 6. They have Kang and Kodo's Twirl and Hurl. Now, this is located near the Simpsons ride, and it's more for, I feel, little kids.
I think this is unfair to have on the list in general. So whoever wrote this article, I just think that this one should be maybe left out because this one is a no minimum height requirement ride for kids. And let's face it, Universal does not have a whole lot for young children or people that, don't meet that height requirement.
This is the description. It says, calling all Earth humans, Kang and Kodo's, those hilarious drooling aliens from The Simpsons, have landed at Universal Studios in Florida and with a ride that'll send you into the stratosphere. Now, obviously, this is not a roller coaster or a 3D ride. It's a general ride that you see at amusement parks or carnivals or theme parks like this. It's very common.
The saucers travel at speeds of up to 1.15
gigawatts?
Yeah, that's what it says. It actually says, don't even try to doing the math. It's only 13 miles an hour.
So I don't know. It's not the greatest ride in the world, but it's if you have little kids, and like Tony said, some of the attractions at Universal, the more thrilling ones, are not little kid friendly. So this may be fun for them. Is it the worst? I don't think it's the worst. There's another one on this list that I believe is the worst, but I don't think this one is it.
We will share maybe at the end of this episode. We'll share which ones we think out of all of them we skip.
Okay.
All right.
Good deal. Number 5, Jimmy Fallon's Race Through New York. This has number 5 worst attraction in Universal Studios Orlando.
This is located in New York. You can't miss it as you're walking through to the entrance of Universal. It's kind of towards the end, so people naturally gravitate towards the end of this area, and they make it towards this ride.
And it's generally not the longest wait time in the world. You know that if this has a long wait time, the park is probably pretty busy. That being said, is it the worst? I don't think so. I went on this a couple times. I don't know if it's necessarily a must-do, but it's definitely one of those ones that if it's a short wait time and you go on, you're going to have a good time.
It's one of those rides or attractions from the outside standing. You really think it's kind of going to be just a basic maybe show, but the fact that it actually is a race through and it's 3D, it is kind of fun.
It's kind of immersive. You sit in your seat, you're in the audience, but you feel it move. You move with the show, and it's got a huge screen that you can see them racing through New York. So I don't think it's the worst. I actually thought when I first went on this, I thought it was going to be something completely different. I thought it was going to be you're in the audience and you're just kind of watching a show. I didn't know it moved, and it was almost like you were on a ride.
Well, yeah, exactly. So like when our first experience, we thought it was the Tonight Show experience, but we didn't realize that it was going to be right. So maybe that's why we initially really liked it. Is it something we really head towards in the beginning of the day? No, but it's not.
It's one of those rides that if it's real hot out, you know that there's AC. It's
True.
a good ride. You will enjoy yourself. You get a little bit of a chuckle, but it's not a must-do.
I really like the queue on this one too, and I think that's something that surprised me because you hear a lot about Disney having more of the queue experience and having more of a storytelling. This one I thought was really impressive, and Universal, I think, did a really good job.
I agree. All right, number 4, Fast and Furious. Now, this is one of those attractions on the list that I think is probably the worst attraction in any theme park in Orlando.
So you're going to agree.
I 100% agree. This is trash.
Wow. All right. So join the crew for an immersive experience. Step into an amazing recreation of the crew's headquarters filled with actual movie props and supercharged vehicles you've only seen on the big screen. So you get to ride along and do a street chase in the middle of the Fast and Furious blockbuster film. I do think if you're a fan of the movie, it is super cool to see movie props.
Yeah, and our youngest loved cars when they were younger. So going through the queue, you do get to see the garage and the cars and the movie prop. That's cute. But then exit. right before the ride starts.
That's all you need. It should just be a walkthrough.
Because the ride stinks.
Should be just a walkthrough museum.
It should be a walkthrough museum, exactly. Like Disney has those walkthroughs where you can kind of go and like the Star Wars experience is just kind of a walkthrough and you get to see props. That's what this should be because the ride itself is not good.
Why is there a height requirement on this one? I don't know if it's necessarily that fast that you really can't bring.
No.
I don't know.
Fast and Furious, it should be called slow and boring.
Well, this next one, I think people are not going to agree with us because we happen to really like this next one.
Yeah, this surprised me. This is on, there was a lot of these lists of worst attractions in Universal, and this was on all of them. E.T. Adventure. I love this one. I think this is the worst pick of this whole draft here.
That is because we're nostalgic and showing our age right now because loving this, it either means you were a huge fan in the 80s of this movie, grew up, or maybe nowadays you got your family to watch it somehow and got to experience the movie. I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? I guess now that you think about it, if you really do think about going through the ride itself, it's not the most thrilling ride in the world. It's pretty old when it comes to theme park standards,
right?
Because it's been around since the beginning. It's one of the OG attractions at Universal. But that being said, I just like E.T., and there's not a lot of E.T. memorabilia or shows that you can think of at any theme park. So like this it brings you back to your childhood. So I don't know how long it'll be around, but I like it.
I hope it sticks around because I really love going and flying with E.T. to his home planet. It's really magical. Even if you're not a fan of the movie or really have any kind of nostalgic feel of this ride, I think it's super fun and visually beautiful as you're going through. And to me, don't discredit old school technology. Like to me, it's kind of fun hopping on a bike and actually flying through the sky. Like to me, that's really fun.
Yeah, it is. I like it.
Okay.
So it's not one of the worst. I enjoy it.
All
right, number 2, Simpsons, the Simpsons ride.
Okay, this one is I'm surprised a lot of people like this one.
Yeah, but you don't.
Sure. Okay, to be fair, it does make me a little queasy. Like,
it gets to the point when you go to Universal, I think something that people say against Universal is there's a lot of screen 3D rides, which there are.
Yeah.
And if you go on Transformers, Fast and Furious, the Simpsons ride, it gets to be 3D screen overload.
Right.
So the Simpsons ride is pretty good if you go on it one time. I don't know if it's one of those rides where you can go on 3 times in a row.
This is actually in the whole Simpsons area, which there are some rumors that might be changing eventually.
And you can't miss it. This is a ginormous queue. It's a ginormous facade, and the attraction itself is pretty good.
So you get to crash through Krusty Land and go through. It's a simulated roller coaster ride, which I love roller coasters. They're really fun. That's one of my favorite rides. Like if you had asked me what is my favorite type of attraction, it's going to be some type of roller coaster. So for me, I was really excited to ride this. Yes, it's fun, but it's something that I'll have to do solely, and I had to skip Race Through New York with Jimmy Fallon if I was doing this.
Yeah, if you're not a fan of 3D screen rides, or there are people out there who just can't do 3D rides. If that's you may want to skip this one because the Jimmy Fallon ride isn't as intense.
The motion and the simulated effect of the coaster on this definitely makes you a little more green, I think.
And it depends on where you sit, too. This
True.
attraction it's almost like you have your own car and you sit behind people or in front of people, and the doors close beside you. So depending on where you sit in the ride vehicle, you get a different show. The Jimmy Fallon experience is wide open. So you never get that claustrophobic feeling.
True.
In the Fast and Furious one, I never go on because it's so bad.
All right, well, this last one, I actually never
Wait, so
go.
do you think the Simpsons ride is a bad ride?
I don't think it's a bad ride, no. I think that
Is it one of the worst? It might be one of the worst in Universal Studios. Though. If you think about what rides are there, and there's only a few bad ones, this might be one of the bad ones.
I wish it was an actual coaster. I think it would be, even if it was one of those simple steel frame old
it could be like
ones.
Goofy Sky School in California Adventure.
Yeah, something like that where it's like old school, not very long, but still thrilling enough where you get the drops and spins. I think to me that would be amazing. I would replace it in a second. So yeah, maybe it is one of the worst.
It is one of the
rides.
ones you skip. It should be like pass, skip, or go.
Right.
And this one's a skip for you.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right, this is the worst ride, they say. Transformers 3D in Universal Orlando. This is another 3D screen ride. It's kind of similar to the Spider-Man attraction at Islands of Adventure. It's a show. You sit in a ride vehicle and you kind of go through with the 3D glasses on and see you're kind of part of the show.
Megatron and his villains, Decepticon. Wait, how do you say that?
Decepticon.
That's the one. Want to rule Earth. So you board this vehicle and you go around and you do your thing, but I don't really love it.
You're not into the Transformers, though. And I mean, neither am I. We have all girls in our family, so we're not into the Transformers a lot. I was when I was a kid, though.
Yeah, I think there was a moment in time where growing up, they were the hottest toy and I was really into it. But then this ride falls flat for me. It's kind of the same type of attraction. It's like the same thing. You go, whether you go to Fast and Furious or to this, it's the same kind of deal.
This, Fast and Furious, The Simpsons, and Spider-Man all have the similar feel to it.
Yeah. But they also don't have a whole lot of space. So maybe they're kind of making do with what they have, and that's why they had to go with the 3D type of experience, or 4D because it's like a ride. But that being said, I think nowadays they could use a refresher, and I think that would be amazing of Universal, because right now they're doing a lot, and I know that they are head-to-head with some other theme parks and really trying to make their resort a one-stop shop where you don't leave. And I think if they focused on a couple of these rides that are not friendly for everybody, they would rule.
This was a one and done for me. I'm not into the Transformers movies or the attraction, and I don't love being 3D screened overload.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm out on this one.
All right, so out of our list, which one would you pick, Bruce? And then we'll ask our listeners to.
Let's pick the three worst out of this list.
Okay.
For me, the number one worst one is Fast and Furious.
All right.
The second worst one, Transformers. The third worst one, to me, is Kang and Kudos Twirling Her.
Aww.
And it's not because it's bad. It's just because it's not one that I need to go on.
Yeah.
I don't think it's bad. And if you have little kids, it's fun.
Sure.
And if I had little kids, I would go on it and I would have a good time. It's just not one that I look at and be like, you know what? I got to go on that.
Right. Well, I guess for me, if I had to choose worse, I'm going to say Fast and Furious, Transformers. And then I'm going to say, I feel bad to say it, but Race to New York with Jimmy Fallon, because if I'm not doing all these other 3D rides, I'm probably going to do the Simpsons one, just because it is a type of, let's say, a coaster experience.
You know what? After I've gone on the Simpsons ride a few times, I get off of that and I'm like, whoa.
You're done.
The Jimmy Fallon one, I get off it, I'm like, that was pretty cool.
I guess it's true. Low expectations on that one, I think, for sure. So
I always look at how I when I'm done with the attraction,
yeah,
how I feel.
Right.
Do I immediately have a smile on my face and I'm talking to you guys about how good that was? Or am I thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I don't feel that great right now. My back hurts, or I get a little queasy.
Yeah.
Simpsons one is depending on the day.
Borderline.
Yeah, but Jimmy Fallon, I'm always into that one. So let me ask you, question of the show. Which one do you think is the worst? In the comments below, which is your least favorite attraction at Universal Studios? Not Islands of Adventure. We'll do that in another show, but this one's just in the studios. What do you think is the worst one? Leave it in the comments below. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.